Hey everyone, I'm Alex Valbergs.
And I'm Paul Barchitta.
And this is another edition of the Weekly Catch. We're down to 4. The Final Four is in Atlanta this weekend, Saturday. The championship game on Monday. We got Louisville, Wichita State, Michigan, and Syracuse. We'll start with the first game. Louisville beat Oregon and Duke to get here. Wichita State beat Ohio State and LaSalle. Let's talk about Louisville first. Oregon, that game they only won by 9, but it was never that close. Right. Duke, the game was close at halftime, and then they blew them out.
Like they've been doing all tournament. I feel like every game Louisville has been really showing why they've been one of the top teams in the whole tournament.
They're showing why they're the number 1 overall seed. We gotta talk about it. We're not gonna show it, but the horrific injury to Kevin Ware. That was the nastiest thing I've ever seen on a basketball court.
Yeah, I'm afraid to jump or do any. As an athlete, seriously, but. It really shows another aspect of the tournament, how this team really now is bonded together. And like I said, I picked Louisville to win it all the whole time.
Both of us, they're our only team left that we picked.
Yeah, like I said, we lost a whole Final Four. But, it's a terrible thing. It happens in all sports. But as a team, you just got to band together and play for this guy. So
yeah, it showed how much they cared about their teammates. Yeah. They were all crying. They were all crying their eyes out after they showed You saw the horror in Patino's eyes when he first saw his leg. It was bad. But we got to talk about how does this impact the game. I think without Kevin Ware, he was their third guard behind Peyton Siva and Russ Smith. If Siva gets into foul trouble, which he has had problems with doing sometimes this year, what happens? They're talking about maybe Luke Hancock playing backup point guard. He's not used to doing that. So can this affect the game? How does Wichita win this game?
Well, like you said, it does have a big impact. But like I said, Wichita, the underdog, of course. I think they have to slow down the tempo of the game, keep it close, because Louisville's been blowing out teams this whole tournament. So if you keep it in a low scoring game late in the second half, I think Wichita can pull it out. Like I said, they beaten OSU, which was one of my Final Four picks. So
this isn't a Cinderella team like a VCU or a Butler.
Right.
Wichita at one point in January was in the top 20 in the country. So they had a bad run at the end of the year, but it's not the biggest surprise. It's not like when George Mason made the Final Four.
Yeah.
This team can play with Malcolm Armstead and Carl Hall. They want to crash the boards. Right. They want to slow it down and play defense. If Louisville speeds them up and they get this game to go over 65-70, I don't think Wichita has a shot. So you'll probably see within the first 10 to 15 minutes how the pace is going. Yeah. And if Wichita has a shot to win this game.
But another thing, Louisville, Michigan, Cuse, we've been talking about these teams all season and all year. So that's why I feel like people would think that Wichita is a Cinderella story. But, Florida Gulf Coast, they didn't fulfill the whole Cinderella story, obviously.
Oh, yeah, it was a great story with them.
But, yeah. So that's why I feel like people kind of doubt Wichita or consider them
they beat Pitt, it's a good Big East school. They beat Gonzaga, the number 1 seed in their region.
At that time.
And they played LaSalle, who was a good team. And then they beat Ohio State, who was the favorite in their region for most of that.
They have a good track record, but you're going up against the big dog now in Louisville. So
who are you picking?
I got to pick Louisville. Like I said, I have them. The one great thing about my bracket is I still have Louisville winning it all. You said, with the whole Ware thing behind their back now, and I still think Russ Smith is, now still probably is the best point guard in this tournament. So I got to stick with Louisville.
Russ Smith's had over 20 points in each game that
he's been
played.
Fantastic.
They're playing their best basketball of the year, just like Michigan and Syracuse. All these teams are playing their best basketball of the year. But, I'm going to go ahead and pick Louisville, even though I think Kevin Ware's injury might affect the game because they don't have a real backup guard behind those two. I still think they're going to be inspired enough. They're going to be inspired. I think that they take this game. They go on to Monday's championship. Moving on to the next game, Michigan, Syracuse. Michigan, Trey Burke just got named AP Player of the Year today. Who do you think is the key for Michigan if they're going to beat Syracuse in this 2-3 zone that's been suffocating for the last 4 games?
Like you said, now obviously you would key on Burke all season, but now showing that he's the guy, but you can't take away what Tim Hardaway Jr. has done this season, and so I think having those big two really anchoring that Michigan offense, I think that's where you got to go.
Michigan has some bigger guards, which generally the zone of Syracuse will swallow up those smaller guards. Right. Burke's only 6'1", but he's a great player. He's better than any of the guards that Marquette had or Indiana. Hardaway's a bit bigger of a guard. I think the keys to these games are Glenn Robinson the third, seeing if he can get into the middle of that zone That's the key to the zone. Everybody says, it's so simple to break the zone. You got to, you can't shoot over it. You got to get inside. Well, it's a lot harder than it is when the guards at the top of the zone are 6'6" and 6'4", and then on the wings they got those 6'8" players with Sutherland and Fair, and then Keita or Christmas at 6'10". Is in it's a big, long zone. It's hard to break, and they've been playing the best defense of their season right now. But I think Robinson getting in the middle of that zone, and if McGarry can keep shooting and rebounding like he has in the last 4 games, he's played his best ball these last 4 games.
But as we saw on Easter Sunday, Michigan destroyed Florida, so. Pretty much, I was sitting on my couch. I think they were making it looks like they were making every shot.
I felt like Florida was lazy in that game.
Yeah,
I felt
that's
like
what
Michigan
I said
was
too.
running them up and down the floor. That's not going to happen with Syracuse.
No, that's why I think that's the most exciting game.
That's another advantage of the zone. They're hard to beat in transition because even if they take a bad shot, their guards are already out there to pull back, and you don't get a lot of easy transition baskets off them. With Syracuse, who do you think is the key player in the whole team is playing great now, especially defensively.
Right. Well, personally, I think C.J. Fair has been the most consistent player around this whole tournament. Having
He's
the bulk
probably
of the
been their
team.
most consistent all season.
Right. Also, as well, but especially this tournament. So I like him a lot. And actually, down the stretch, Michael Carter-Williams defensively, saying Hughes is playing the best basketball and defense the whole year. But I think he's the real focal point of that defense right now. And obviously Sutherland with his 3-point shot. So, I think them 3 really are the anchor of this team.
Yeah, Sutherland didn't hit a lot of threes in the last game, and they still won pretty convincingly.
But, as you saw all season and the Big East tournament, of course.
The interesting stats, Syracuse has had more turnovers forced than field goals made in these 4 games. And they've also held their opponents to under 30% from the field, which just shows how great they're playing defensively. Carter-Williams, Fair's always going to get his. Carter-Williams has to be a facilitator first. Like he has been, score second, and he's been playing his best basketball. And I think Keita and Christmas in the zone, they have to play big, get the rebounds, and if they get fouled, go to the line and make his shots. Keita's been a lot better about making his free throws. But ultimately, who do you pick, Michigan, Cuse?
I'm a Cuse fan. I love the whole Cuse thing around school. I got to take Michigan. I'm taking Michigan. I just think that the way that they shot the basketball against Florida and this whole tournament, we said I was going to pick them in the Final Four. I was a little confused, but they really have been showing how they've been consistently on offense, just firing from 3 and everything. So I like Michigan.
It's going to be a tough game. I think this game's harder to pick than the first one.
Yeah, I think it's the best matchup
I'm
of
going
the
to
two.
go with Cuse because of the confusion of the 2-3, the zone. If they say you can't simulate it in practice, and Michigan's a Big Ten team. They don't see the zone a lot all year. They're not a Big East team like Marquette was. Marquette saw the zone a lot, and they still had problems with it, just like Indiana did in the Sweet 16, another Big Ten team. So just defensively, I think Cuse only has to score about 60 to win this game. And I think they move on to Monday's championship. But are you sticking with Louisville?
I'm sticking with Louisville. I had them beginning this bracket. I'm sticking with Louisville.
I would love to see,
love to see Cuse.
Love to see Louisville, Cuse. 2 teams leaving the Big East, one last hurrah. It would be the 4th time they've played this year.
That would be good.
They both beat each other on their own floors, and then Louisville, that big comeback in the Big East championship. I think it would be a great way to end the tournament with that full press of Louisville versus the 2-3.
And the ending, the last year of the Big East too. So that would be something. But so who are you taking, Louisville?
I don't know. I don't think I'm allowed to pick this one.
I know you're a big Cuse fan, so.
But I would love to see that game on Monday. That'd be a great
game.
But that's it for the Final Four coverage. We'll be here next week with the winner to talk about, and MLB. MLB is getting underway. We'll be talking about that.
Coming up soon.
The Masters starts soon.
Right, so we got a lot of
NFL draft. We got a lot to talk about. So I hope you join us next week. For Paul Barchitta, I'm Alex Valbergs, and we hope to see you next week.